welcome to my 517 Follow Friday series. Today, I have the distinct pleasure of chatting with Sarah Pierce of 517 Living. Sarah is a longtime native of Lansing and founded 517 Living in 2014. Sarah, thanks for joining me today.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me on here. Cool way to connect.
Yeah. So you've got the 517 Living website, and it does share a little bit about your journey starting 517 Living and just creating the different platforms. I'm just curious, can you share a little bit with the viewers about what your motivations were and how that journey has impacted you?
Sure. Let's see. So if we go back to 2014, when I started it, I was not feeling very much in the loop for the greater Lansing area. I was not familiar with really any aspect of it. And didn't really feel like it was my home. I just kind of felt like I was here existing, going to work, and relying on really cliche young adult things for entertainment, like going to the bar, movies, things like that. But I didn't really have a lot of depth in my social activities. So I can't remember exactly what was the moment where I decided to make the Twitter account, but I made a Twitter account to share stuff that was going on in the greater Lansing area, which later was shortened to 517 for the branding purposes. But I started doing some digging, started sharing events I found, cool businesses, different deals, and things like that. And I saw that other people were very interested in that information. So I was thinking, this could be something that could not only help me and the local businesses, but it could really help a lot of other people kind of have more enriched lives, more interesting lives in the greater Lansing area. So I expanded to building a website where I created a hub calendar with a front end submission form so that people could add their events on their own. And then I created a Facebook group. Those were kind of new at the time back then. And I thought, I'll create this group to try to drive people to the website, to find like-minded people who are interested in going to events and stuff like that, and be like, here's our group. Now everybody go to the website for your events. So that's how it all started.
Okay.
And I kind of figured it out as I went.
Interesting. Yeah, I guess back then, 10 years ago, 8 years ago, whatever it was, there wouldn't have been as much traction with the different Facebook pages and stuff. So,
right.
Yeah.
We moved brand new. It was brand new for me, and Facebook groups in general were kind of a different format back then. So I got lucky because it was a lot easier for me to kind of spam my way into growing a group really fast. And now there's a lot more restrictions on social media where they don't let you do stuff like I did back then. So it would be very hard to do that these days.
Okay.
Yeah.
We moved here in 2007, and the way that you described how you felt living in the area and the community, that's kind of how we went through it. I guess I just didn't really notice it at the time, but it probably wasn't until I really started finishing up my undergrad and seeking out law school before it felt like I was really getting out into the community. And I'm sure things like 517 Living and other websites and platforms are what kind of drew me in. So can you walk through the different platforms that 517 is on right now and the resources that are available?
Yeah, I'll start with the most popular platform that probably has the most, well, definitely has the most traffic. That's our Facebook group, because, most people these days, well, like, I think it's probably safe to say most people have Facebook in this country. But that group is called 517 Living Community. It has about 65,000 people in it. And the main goal of that group is just to offer a hub for people in the greater Lansing. I keep saying greater Lansing area. I guess technically I'm supposed to say in greater Lansing. Sometimes I add the area on there because I want to make sure people know it's not just Lansing. It's so right. 517 Living covers Lansing and all of the surrounding communities that have a center within 25 miles of the center of Lansing. So it's like all
Okay.
the communities that touch Lansing, and then some of them have one community in between, or one city, town, whatever.
Okay.
So the group is targeted at those people, visitors too, but really it's targeted at locals who are looking to make connections, support local, get involved in organizations, go to events, things like that, make friends, network. It's really focused on helping support small businesses and get them resources. The one thing that kind of sets the group apart, which is a little bit irritating for a lot of people, is I have a thing set up so that in order to post to the group, because there's so much spam these days, even though I admitted to being a spammer earlier on this, there's so much like scammy spam out there these days,
Yeah.
that to filter that out and to also make sure that people are being intentional with their content, I have it set up that anyone who wants to post in the group needs to read and comment on our group rules post, which is pinned to the top of the group. You can find it in the featured section of our group. So all the details about the group are there. And that group's been a lot of fun for me. I know that different news outlets have their eyes on that group because there's
Yeah.
some good story content in there.
Hmm.
So that is the most popular platform. And then the calendar is the next popular. That's kind of the claim to fame for 517 Living, is having a really inclusive, comprehensive local community event calendar at
Yeah.
517living.com. Right on the homepage, right above the calendar, there's a submit your event button, and you can add your details. And something that's unique about the calendar is I've partnered up with other local calendars like Lansing Family Fun, Arts Council of Greater Lansing, Capital Area Blues Society, Old Town Lansing. I think there's one other big one I'm missing. But if you add tags when you're submitting your event, and I put the details in the form now so people can see what they need to do. Let's say you add a kids tag if you have a festival. When you hit submit, your event will show up not only on 517 Living's calendar, it'll also show up on Lansing Family Fun's website calendar. So people, event planners or event promoters, are having a more efficient process because you can really add your event up to like 5 different calendars at once right now.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
really cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah, right. I've
Okay.
been trying to think of ways to really highlight that, and I finally figured to put the instructions right in the submission form. So
Okay. Can anyone add events, or do you have like do you have a way of vetting the submissions?
anyone who's hosting a Greater Lansing event can use it. But I do have it set up so that I approve all of them, and that helps me catch if there's a mistake. Or people can also send me private notes that way with their submission if they want to say, "Hey, could you make this a recurring event so it's every Wednesday?" Then I set that from my end. Or if someone is like not from the area and they use the calendar, then I don't approve it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Facebook page, the main Facebook page, the calendar, and then you've got the directory. Talk
Okay,
about that a
yeah,
little bit.
yeah. So moving on to the newer platforms that I've been working on, I thought, of course, it makes sense since I'm dealing with so many local businesses to have a directory of them. So
Yep.
that you can find on the website. If you go to 517living.com/directory, or 517directory.com can work too. That I'm still working on optimizing the organization of all of that. I really want to make it user friendly, but also not overcomplicate it.
Right.
So that has a pretty good list of a lot of local businesses worth supporting. And
Mhm.
then I also created 2 subgroups under the 517 Living umbrella on Facebook. One is for event organizers. So
Mhm.
since 517 Living is so focused on events, I really wanted to help get anyone who's involved in hosting events, promoting events, organizing them, get them the resources so that they can really have an optimized experience and tap into all of the free resources. So for that group, and also linked on the page for that group on our website,
Mhm.
you can find an event promotion checklist, which is like, here's the top 10 things to do if you're hosting an event in Greater Lansing. And then 10 of the like best free options. And it includes other calendars that are not linked to mine, like Choose Lansing, City
Mm-hmm.
Pulse, and Lansing State Journal. And it directs people to those calendars if they want to, take extra steps, and then reminds them how to set up their content, reminds them, also use paper flyers too. Not
Yeah.
everybody's on the computer, put them in coffee
Yeah.
shops, stuff like that. So I have an event organizers group called Greater Lansing Area Event Organizers. And then I have a private group for local business owners and local founders who are still active in their organizations, if they're in the directory. So
Right.
that's called 517 Livings. What's it called? 517 Livings Network of local
I
business
should know
owners,
it. I'm in
founders,
the
or
group,
something
but
like
I can't think of the
that.
name of it right now either.
Yeah. Basically, if you go to the sign up page for the directory, it's linked on there. And I also have it linked. All of this information, I should say, in case anyone's getting lost who watches this, is at 517living.com/about. I have like a whole about page with everything linked on there.
Okay.
And then, of course, I have the Instagram.
Yeah.
I made a TikTok, but then I stopped it. So you can follow me on TikTok, but you won't see anything. And then, of course, I started 517 Living Community Week. That's a new big thing that I'm
Yep.
really trying to grow. It's a project where every year, October 1st through 7th, the first week of October, is a week dedicated to all kinds of local experiences that are
Yep.
hosted by multiple local businesses, organizations, and individuals. So you can find that info at 517week.com.
Okay. Was last year the first year that you did that?
Oh, I actually started it during the pandemic, because what I
Okay.
had been doing before was I had 517 Living Community Night, and it
Okay.
was an in-person party with vendors and music and activities and food and stuff like that. And then when the pandemic was putting a cramp on the in-person gatherings, I thought, how can I make this something people can still do? So I
Yeah.
had transitioned into just a big list of specials for a whole week of like anyone who wants to offer a special. And then I started including events in that the next year. And it kind of morphed into, I was like, and then I did try one more in-person event after the pandemic, but I was like, in order to be as inclusive as possible and let every single person in the community be involved in this in whatever way they want, I just want to put it in the hands of the people who want to be involved and be like, how do you want to be involved? Okay, I'll get you featured on a list of events and activities and specials. So I would love to see this year, October 1st, a whole lineup of people having little artisan markets, menu specials, drink specials,
Yeah.
networking events, festivals, whatever, and I'll help
Yeah.
get it.
That's great.
Yeah.
So, regarding the directory for small businesses, anybody can add their business. And I think, is there a small fee for that to be added to the directory?
Yeah, there's a fee, and not everyone can do it. It does need, I have some restrictions on there. So it's any locally owned Greater Lansing business or a local organization,
Okay.
or if it's like a brick and mortar business that's local and it's Michigan owned, that also counts.
Okay. All right.
So if I have someone reach out to me who says, I do a mobile detailing business, I come to Lansing, but I'm a Detroit business, they don't qualify, even if they do come to Lansing.
Okay. All right.
But if there was a business in Lansing and it's a place you can go to, but they're owned by someone in Detroit, that would work.
Okay.
As long as it's
Yeah.
kind of confusing. It's outlined on the sign up page though.
Okay. And then the Facebook business page, which I know it's only been going for a couple of months now. What are your goals for that page? How are you hoping that other business owners will connect with each other and support them?
So what I have started with that group is really the group itself is not going to be the main connection hub for the local business owners. When I started it, I left it very open and I was like, people can post in here, but it quickly became a very cliche dumping ground where I was like, I want people to actually have to go look at the group. And
Right.
nothing against that. I've been a classic dumper of content, but I was like, I want this to be a little more intentional. So what I do for the interaction for the group is I create a thread for each month that people can comment in the thread and interact in the thread. But my
Yep.
main focus is going to be using that group to keep people informed of relevant information that's just for business owners and founders. So if I have
Okay.
some important updates, I'll post them in there. But also those people in that group are going to be, I've had a guinea pig event so far, just one event, but it's going to be about in-person meetups. So my first networking event for that group was at Lansing Shuffle. And it was just kind of a cool feel because it was really down to earth, informal, and
Hmm.
every person there is a business owner. So it's not really open to just like the general managers or the marketing team or anything like that. I have other events and other platforms for that. This is for people who are entrepreneurs, they've started a business, they founded an organization, and it's going to offer some unique connection opportunities. So
Right.
I'm working on the next event right now, which will be privately shared in only that group.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. This is a lot. You've done a lot and branched out and you're growing and it sounds like you're really responding to the needs of the communities in the 517 area. Has this become just like a full-time job for you? Is this what you do now?
Well, that would be great if it were my full-time thing and that was actually like doing everything I needed a job to do for me. I'd say right now, I consider it, even though I'm working on growing it actively and I want it to be a very successful endeavor, it's really for me a passion project
Okay.
and that I'm working on growing into a more I don't want to say lucrative. I know a more, I guess, successful business, but it's really so much fun for me. There's been some times where, and I have another business. I do e-commerce, and so both of those I do from home, so it's very flexible. But there's been some lows where I just had experienced burnout
Yeah.
from social media because I was so intertwined in everything that
Right.
was going on. And where there was times where I'm like, oh, I would just like to be completely unplugged, pass this on. But then I'm like,
Yeah.
kind of like, I would feel like I was giving up part of me or, giving up my baby because I don't really trust anyone else with it. You know what I mean?
I know how you
Like you
feel.
have to
Yeah.
be for the position as the admin of that group, for example, it has to be run by someone who is not super reactive, not
Yeah.
easily offended, not gonna be biased in the
Right.
content and stuff like that. And if it got into, I don't mean this to sound like I don't know, like it's a bigger deal than it is, but if it got into the wrong hands, it could go
Yeah.
real bad. You know what I
I
mean?
can see that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's it like having to, monitor so many different places and if you're having to approve things, um, do you just kind of have a system down now and it just goes pretty quickly?
Oh yeah, it's super easy. I mean, so the two things that take time would be all I have to do is go in every morning, see if someone submitted events. I just check them and approve them. I mean, if I was very efficient, I could do everything very quickly. But of course, it's very easy to get into rabbit holes or whatever when you're
Yeah.
on the computer, like obsess over details. But so I just do that and then I go see how many people requested pre-approval status in the group and I get them pre-approved. But the only people who can post in the group are people who have pre-approved status. So
Right.
anything that's not pre-approved doesn't go
Just
through.
goes away.
Anything that
Yeah.
is automatic. So I mainly just have to look for reported content and like make sure people are getting along and using
Right.
common sense and stuff. So it's
Okay.
not, it could take as little or as much time as I want, you know.
Right.
And you could kind of tell if you were to track my activity, you kind of tell like, oh, Sarah's feeling good this month. Lots going on. And then like next month, you're like, I haven't heard anything in a while. It's just whatever I'm willing to put into it is, you know,
Right.
what it
Yeah.
takes really.
Okay. Is there anything else that you want to share today that we haven't already covered?
Let me think. I always like to emphasize that I guess just how valuable and life-changing and enriching it can be to get out of your comfort zone in
Yeah.
ways that align with your values. So like if there's something that you feel like I need to do that and I know it would be good for me, if you don't have a good reason not to do it, it could really be really life enhancing to do it.
Yep.
But also, yeah, just getting out of your comfort zone socially too. Like go to events alone. It's a really great way to kind of stretch yourself and strengthen yourself socially. Um, and then just the power of community, how healing it can be. You know, when I had an experience the other day where I crossed paths with someone who was very isolated, and it's just we don't realize even looking at what 517 living offers and the connections in the group, I think a lot of people don't realize really how many very extremely lonely people there are in our community
Yeah.
and how powerful it would be for them to get connected with the right organizations and resources
Yeah.
and things like that. So community is very important and it's worth
Yep.
investing in. If you think of ways, I was just thinking around that same time too, like how powerful it could be if everyone in our community just committed to helping each other out. Like
Yeah.
in not even ways that are super draining, just in little ways here and there. Like, yeah, I can help you out with that this one time. So community is powerful in getting out of your comfort zone in ways that align with your values. Very important.
Yeah.
Those two things.
Yeah, I will say that more so on the main 517 page, I have definitely come across some different posts where, somebody, whether they got outside their comfort zone or not, somebody is vulnerable and puts something out there that they are in need of or that they need advice on or a recommendation. And for the most part, people do step up and
Mm-hmm.
offer advice and there's ways that they could support. And I think sometimes it's a little bit easier to do it in that kind of medium than actually going out and asking for help. So
Yeah, right.
yeah, I love
That's
it.
true. Thank
Well,
you.
thank
Yeah,
you.
thanks for inviting me on here. It's always good to, because I know now we know each other now, and I
Yep,
can like recognize you when I'm out at events and stuff. So it's nice to have another connection with someone who has
absolutely. That's
a
what this is
heart
all
for the
about.
community. Yeah.
Yep. Well, I will share all of your contact information and everything for the 517 platforms in the caption of the video. And then if anybody watching has not experienced all that 517 Living has to offer, check it out. Check out the platforms, the sites, the calendars. And then if you're interested in being featured on my Follow Friday series, you can send me an email at Katrina at cornerstonelegalpllc.com. Thanks for watching.